My best friend betrayed me in ways I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. She called me her best friend for 10 years, and then stole my man, my business, and tried to bury my reputation. But here's what she didn't know. While she was partying and posting thirst traps, I was building something in silence. She thought she ended me. What I built next not only exposed her lies, it cost her everything. A lot happened that I turned her name into a shade of foundation. Atlanta. A city that hums with ambition, where humidity clings to your skin almost as persistently as the curated perfection on Instagram feeds. It's a place of sprawling brunch patios, glossy brand launches in converted warehouses, and a beauty industry scene bubbling with potential and rife with passive aggression hidden behind dazzling smiles. For years, I navigated this world tethered to Kayla Dean. We were the Nicole and Kayla show, an inseparable duo since our chaotic college days at Emory. Kayla, 30, was the human solar flare, loud, charismatic, effortlessly drawing eyes and energy, a wannabe influencer whose life seemed perpetually bathed in the golden hour filter. Nicole Brady, 29, was her grounding force, the quiet, introverted chemist, the one who deciphered the complex formulas, both in the lab and in life, the one who cleaned up the inevitable messes left in Kayla's dazzling wake. My loyalty to her was a deeply ingrained habit, perhaps even a fault. Our dynamic seemed simple. She shone, I supported. She had the magnetic personality, I had the brains and the steady hand. I was okay with that, mostly. My passion wasn't the spotlight, it was the science. Locked away in my makeshift lab, a corner of my perpetually cluttered Inman Park apartment, I found solace in the precise alchemy of skincare formulation. My dream wasn't fame. It was creating something meaningful, something real, for skin like mine, sensitive, reactive, prone to flushing betrayingly whenever stress levels spiked. Skin Kayla used to playfully mock as drama queen skin. Then came Devin. Charming, easygoing Devin. The man I'd loved for 4 years. The relationship that had become a comfortable rhythm in my often anxious life. When we broke up, amicably on the surface but gut-wrenching underneath, Kayla was right there. Or so I thought. She played the role of the supportive bestie flawlessly, late-night calls, wine-fueled pity parties, fierce denunciations of Devin's inability to appreciate my worth. 2 weeks. That's how long the performance lasted. 14 days after I tearfully packed Devin's remaining things into a box, Kayla posted the photo. Her hand, adorned with her signature stack of rings, intertwined with Devin's against the backdrop of a chic rooftop bar skyline. The caption? Unexpected things often turn out to be the best surprises. Sparkles. No call. No text. No whispered confession over coffee. Just a public declaration blasted to our entire shared social circle, a digital slap in the face. The hurt was sharp, visceral. A betrayal of the sisters before misters code we'd always preached. I could have maybe, eventually, processed that. People are messy, feelings get complicated. But Kayla didn't stop there. The photo was just the opening salvo. What followed was a calculated campaign of character assassination. Whispers turned into bold-faced lies. Suddenly, I was the villain of my own breakup story. Kayla told mutual friends, potential business collaborators, anyone who would listen, that I had been cheating on Devin. That my anxiety, something I'd always confided in her about, was merely a tool I weaponized for attention. That I was emotionally unstable, clingy, too intense. She painted me as the crazy ex, conveniently paving the way for her and Devin to be seen as the mature, evolved couple who found solace in each other after escaping my supposed toxicity. The fallout was swift and brutal. Friends grew distant, their responses vague, their eyes filled with pity or suspicion. A collaboration I'd been discussing with a local boutique owner fizzled out, the owner suddenly going in a different direction. The carefully constructed world I knew dissolved around me, replaced by whispers and side eyes. Kayla, my best friend, hadn't just taken my ex, she'd taken my reputation, my support system, my sense of reality. She pushed me into an isolation so profound it felt like drowning. Humiliation warred with a rage, so cold it burned. I deactivated my Instagram, my Facebook. I stopped answering calls from the few friends who did reach out, unsure who to trust. I retreated into myself, the silence of my apartment amplifying the deafening roar of betrayal in my head. Kayla thought she had erased me, pushed me off the board entirely. She was wrong. I wasn't disappearing. I was incubating. The year that followed was a crucible. My small apartment became both sanctuary and laboratory. The initial wave of grief and rage was paralyzing. There were days I could barely get out of bed, the weight of Kayla's betrayal pressing down like the humid Atlanta summer air. Therapy became my lifeline, a space where I could unpack the tangled mess of hurt, anger, and shattered self-worth without judgment. My therapist helped me see the patterns I'd ignored for years, Kayla's subtle manipulations, her need to be the center of every narrative, my own tendency to shrink myself to make space for her shine. The anger, when it settled, wasn't frantic, it was focused. It became fuel. Instead of plotting petty revenge, envisioning scenarios of public confrontation that would only diminish me further, I poured everything into my work. My drama queen skin, the skin Kayla mocked, became my muse. I understood its triggers, its needs, its silent language. Stress, betrayal, anxiety, they manifest physically. What if skincare could be more than just topical? What if it could be a ritual of resilience? I called my nascent project Alchemy for the Anxious. Nights blurred into mornings as I experimented with calming botanicals, barrier-repairing ceramides, soothing hydrosols. I sourced ingredients meticulously, focusing on efficacy and ethical production. I formulated and reformulated, testing countless iterations on my own reactive skin. Slowly, painstakingly, a line began to emerge, minimalist, potent, fragrance-free, designed specifically for skin stressed by modern life, by heartbreak, by betrayal. Skin like mine. It was the antithesis of the flashy, trend-driven products Kayla promoted online. It was quiet, honest, effective. While the chemistry came naturally, the business side was a steep learning curve. I devoured books on branding, marketing, e-commerce. I studied brands built on authenticity, on storytelling. I learned the power of silence, the impact of showing up consistently, letting the work speak for itself. My journal became my strategy document, filled not just with emotional processing but with business plans, formulation notes, brand manifestos. I realized revenge wasn't about tearing Kayla down. It was about building myself up so high that her actions became insignificant, a footnote in my much larger story. The real glow-up wasn't just clearer skin. It was clarity of purpose, resilience forged in fire. 6 months into this intense period, I knew I needed help translating my vision into a digital presence. Posting on LinkedIn, seeking a freelance social media strategist with a passion for indie beauty, I received an application that stood out. Tony, 27, was sharp, insightful, and her portfolio showcased a keen understanding of authentic online storytelling. During the interview, she mentioned casually, "Oh yeah, I used to follow Kayla Dean." Her feed seemed aspirational, but something always felt a little off. I hesitated, then decided on radical honesty. I told Tony a condensed version of the story, focusing on the professional sabotage rather than the personal heartbreak. Tony listened intently, her expression shifting from polite interest to steely resolve. "Wow," she said quietly. "That explains a lot." She then opened her laptop and showed me things she'd archived, not out of malice, but because Kayla's inconsistencies had bothered her. Screenshots of Kayla's snarky comments on private Twitter circles, alt accounts. Examples of her buying engagement, even DMs where Kayla had trash-talked other influencers. Tony had the receipts, filed away with the digital neatness of a strategist who understood the long game. "I believe you, Nicole," she said. "And I want to help you build this. Let's show them what real substance looks like." Tony became my first hire, my digital confidant, fiercely loyal and strategically brilliant. We weren't plotting revenge in the traditional sense. We were plotting Nicole Brady's ascension. We were plotting to make Raymond Skincare, named after my grandfather, a quiet man of immense integrity, Undeniable. 12 months after Kayla's devastating betrayal, Raymond Skincare launched. No splashy party, no influencer gifting suite. Just a clean, minimalist website, beautiful product photography, and my story, shared vulnerably on the About page and through a series of quiet, consistent social media posts managed by Tony. I spoke about stress, sensitivity, the connection between inner turmoil and outer inflammation. I didn't name names, but I spoke my truth. Skincare for the emotionally scarred. It resonated. Slowly at first, then with gathering force. Orders trickled in, then flowed. Testimonials appeared, genuine and heartfelt, from women who felt seen, understood. Hashtags like #RaymondSkin and #Alchemy for the Anxious started cropping up organically. Then came Miriam. Miriam Sterling, 42, a legend in the beauty industry. Editor-in-chief of Glow magazine, a respected angel investor known for backing female-founded indie brands with authentic stories. She had the power to make or break careers in Atlanta's beauty scene. Tony had strategically sent her a simple, personalized pitch, just the products and a link to my story. Miriam emailed back within hours. She wanted to meet. We met for coffee at a quiet spot in Virginia Highland. Miriam was sharp, direct, with eyes that seemed to see everything. She told me point blank. You know, Kayla Dean pitched me relentlessly about 6 months ago. Sent these long, rambling emails full of buzzwords she clearly copied from somewhere, name-dropping people I knew she barely knew. Wanted investment for some vague, lifestyle brand idea. Her products looked like cheap private label junk with fancy packaging. I found her exhausting, utterly transparent. She leaned forward. You, Nicole, are the opposite. Your products are exquisite. Your story is real. It connects. This isn't just branding, it's clearly you. I want in. Miriam didn't just invest. She became a champion. Raymond Skincare became her passion project. Suddenly, we had funding, strategic guidance, and access. The quiet launch exploded into a full campaign. Billboards featuring my face, clear-skinned, calm, looking directly at the camera, appeared along Ponce de Leon Avenue. TikToks created by Tony, showcasing the product's efficacy with raw, unfiltered user footage, went viral. Articles praising the formulations and the brand's ethos appeared in major publications. And then, the ultimate validation, the cover of Glow magazine.
Me.
Under the headline, Meet Nicole Brady, the woman who healed her skin and her scars. Kayla saw it while standing in the checkout line at Whole Foods on Ponce. A mutual acquaintance texted me a photo of her face, slack-jawed, eyes wide with disbelief, clutching a carton of oat milk like a lifeline. The Nicole she thought she destroyed was suddenly everywhere, looking serene, successful, powerful. Kayla, predictably, tried to spin the narrative. Damage control mode activated. A few hours after the magazine hit stands, a saccharine Instagram story appeared on her feed, a picture of my Glow cover, overlaid with text dripping faux enthusiasm. OMG. So incredibly proud of my amazing bestie, Nicole Brady. Sparkles look at her absolutely killing it with Raymond Skincare. Smiling face with hard eyes, always knew you had it in you, girl. So much love. #women supporting women, #bestie goals. My phone buzzed with notifications, friends, acquaintances, industry contacts sending screenshots, asking if we'd reconciled. I felt a familiar wave of nausea, the knee-jerk reaction to her manipulation. But the Nicole of a year ago, the one who would have agonized, maybe even reached out, was gone. I archived the messages. I didn't reply. I didn't acknowledge her post. My silence was its own statement. The universe, however, had other plans. Or perhaps Tony did. The next morning, Kayla woke up to a digital firestorm. Her DMs were flooded not with praise for her magnanimous post, but with venom. Overnight, a video had surfaced, posted by an anonymous burner account, quickly amplified by gossip blogs and outraged commenters. The video was grainy, clearly shot on a phone at a loud house party about 10 months prior. It showed Kayla, drink in hand, slurring slightly, holding court with a group of people. Honestly, Nicole is just dragging him down. Kayla sneered in the clip, her voice dripping with contempt. So weak. Always crying about something. Devin needed someone strong, someone fun. So yeah, I swooped him. She didn't even put up a fight. Pathetic. She laughed, tossing her hair. Tony, my silent archivist, had been sitting on that video file, sent to her months ago by someone else disgusted by Kayla's behavior at that party. Tony hadn't needed my permission to act. She understood the mission. The burner account tagged every single brand Kayla worked with, the teeth-whitening strips, the fast fashion boutiques, the diet teas. The fallout was swift and brutal. Sponsors, spooked by the backlash and the undeniable ugliness of her words, dropped her one by one. Public apologies rang hollow. Her comment sections became wastelands of snake emojis and cancelled hashtags. The carefully curated image Kayla had spent years building shattered overnight, exposed by her own drunken words, unearthed at the precise moment my star was rising. Poetic justice, served ice-cold via anonymous upload. A few weeks later, I sat across from Miriam in a sleek podcast studio, recording an episode for her highly influential Behind the Brand series. The success of Raymond was undeniable, but Miriam wanted to dig deeper into the why behind the brand. Nicole, Miriam began, her voice warm but probing, your story of creating Raymond out of personal struggle is incredibly compelling. You've spoken about stress and sensitivity, but there's a strength there, a resilience. Can you talk about the catalyst? I took a breath, centered myself. This was it. Not a rant, not a teardown, but a reclaiming of my narrative on my own terms. There was a time, I started, my voice quiet but clear, resonating in the microphone's intimacy, when my world felt very small, defined largely by a single, intense friendship. I thought I had a best friend, a sister. Then, she started dating my ex of 4 years, very shortly after our painful breakup. I paused, meeting Miriam's gaze. Honestly, I could have survived that. People connect in strange ways. Heartbreak heals. But I continued, the word hanging in the air. She didn't stop there. She orchestrated a campaign to dismantle my reputation. Told mutual friends and professional contacts that I was unstable, a liar, manipulative. She used my vulnerabilities, things I'd shared in confidence, as weapons. She pushed me into isolation when I was at my lowest. That kind of betrayal, it cuts deeper than heartbreak. It felt like an attempt to erase me. Miriam listened intently, her expression unreadable but focused. So I disappeared, I said. Not to run, not to hide, but to rebuild. To figure out who I was without that reflection, without that dynamic. I poured my pain, my chemistry background, my own sensitive skin's needs into creating Raymond. And in doing so, I found my strength. I found my voice. I allowed myself a small smile. And now, looking back, I almost have to thank her. Because without that profound betrayal, that push into the abyss, I would never have discovered the reserves of power within myself. I'd never have realized how strong I am when I stop begging others to see me and start showing up for myself. The interview was resonating. I could feel it. But I wasn't finished. Speaking of building, I said, shifting slightly, we're actually preparing for our next big launch at Raymond. Miriam leaned forward, intrigued. Oh, can you give us an exclusive? Absolutely. I smiled, the final piece of my strategic mosaic clicking into place. We're launching a line of foundations. Clean formulations, breathable, perfect for sensitive skin, of course. It's called Shade Match. I let the name land. And each shade, I continued, my voice smooth as silk, is named after a word that was used to describe me during that difficult time. Words whispered behind my back, lies spread to diminish me. I looked directly into the camera I knew was recording for the video version of the podcast. We have shades like clingy, a beautiful, warm nude that holds fast all day. Overdramatic, a bold, deep espresso that makes a statement. Anxious, a calming, cool ivory. Boring, a classic, reliable beige. I ticked them off mentally. Sensitive, unstable, weak. We took every single insult, every attempt to define me negatively, and we flipped them. We turned them into shades of strength, resilience, beauty. I leaned back, letting the full impact sink in. Because every stone thrown at me wasn't a weapon that destroyed me. It became a building block for the empire I built on my own terms. The shade match reveal exploded. The podcast episode went viral. The clip of me calmly listing the foundation names, explaining their origin, became a meme, a symbol of turning pain into power and incredibly savage marketing. Pre-orders for Shade Match broke our website servers. Kayla's reaction was tragically predictable. She went on Instagram Live, tearfully attempting damage control. Her face was blotchy, her usual filter seemingly malfunctioning under the weight of real tears. She rambled about being misunderstood, about cancel culture, about how everyone makes mistakes, how she was the real victim of online bullying. She painted herself as persecuted, conveniently omitting the details of her own calculated cruelty, the lies, the video. But the magic was gone. The authenticity people craved, they now found in Raymond, in my story. Kayla's performance felt hollow, desperate. The comment section during her live was brutal. No one was buying it. Reddit threads popped up dissecting her downfall, juxtaposing her tearful live with the video of her drunken bragging. The title of one popular thread summed it up. ATL influencer Kayla Dean ruined her best friend's life, and then watched her take over the beauty world. Her remaining sponsors vanished. Her engagement plummeted. Brands wouldn't touch her. Social climbing friends suddenly ghosted her. Devin, reading the room, quietly distanced himself. Kayla, who thrived on external validation, found herself truly alone, adrift in the digital world she had tried to conquer, her reputation irrevocably tarnished. Me? My trajectory continued upward. Raymond Skincare became a multi-million-dollar brand, celebrated for its efficacy and its ethos. I gave a TED Talk in Atlanta titled, How Betrayal Made Me Beautiful and Why I Thank My Enemies. It focused on resilience, on reclaiming narratives, on building empires not despite adversity, but because of it. It garnered millions of views within weeks. Sometimes, late at night, I'd allow myself a moment to reflect, not with smugness, but with a quiet sense of awe at the strange, painful, ultimately empowering journey. The introverted chemist who once felt invisible was now defining her own terms, her success the loudest statement of all. Kayla, I heard, still scrolled through Instagram, watching my keynotes, my product launches, my life unfolding vibrantly on the small screen of her phone. Alone in the quiet of her apartment, the glow emanating not from a ring light, but from the undeniable brilliance of the woman she tried, and failed, to extinguish. The backstabber had inadvertently created a beauty mogul, and that was the most unexpected alchemy of all.